Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. With me this week is returning guest Mark Herakovic. You know him, you hate him because he's an admin over on Flooring Installers of America. He's the one deleting all your posts and banning your comments. Just a big old meanie. He's also the flooring training installation manager. I'll get the title right. Over at MDG Flooring in somewhere in the middle of Ohio. I can't remember a town. It's not Columbus or Cleveland. Okay. Right outside of Cleveland. And with us is also his apprentice is Gavin Swanson, who is joining us. We'll have them introduce themselves in just a minute. But why are they here? Because Mark went out of his way and designed an actual training program to be able to train apprentices, which is something that not a lot of businesses have, especially within the trades. And if your upbringing was anything like mine, and I suspect it was, go tear that out. Okay. Well, I'm done. Well, stand here. I don't have anything for you to do right now. Just watch me. I need this tool. Here's how you make a cut. Like it was so discombobulated and everything was just thrown at you as it came up. There was no system, no plan, no way to actually train someone. And it's really confusing and frustrating to someone trying to learn that you brought in to learn from you, that you want to succeed. And then you just pull the rug out from under them and expect them to start picking it up. It's not the way we train people in this industry at our small companies sucks, folks. It sucks. Stop doing it. Design something. And that's why we got Mark here. So we're going to look at what does it look like to try and build out an actual training program, implement it, bring up your first apprentice, and then work out some kinks, keep the apprentice engaged, excited. And it's not just about the program. There's a culture behind this from the store and other installers that work there. And then we implement all these things together and we work out the kinks, and now we can go. And I'm pretty sure if Gavin's not already doing a lot of stuff on his own, he's fairly close, and Mark probably should be looking for another guy. We haven't talked in a minute, so we're going to dig into all of that on this week's episode. So that's enough from, I forgot. Why are we even here? Man, look at me. I can't even get through these things anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. Floor Academy is here. It's Mark's fault. He distracts me and makes me forget things.
Always.
Floor Academy is here because every week I want to help bring you information that you can go and implement into your business to make it more successful, more streamlined, free up your time, make you less stressed, earn you more profit. All of the things that you should be doing and probably aren't because we get caught up working in our business and having a 12-inch view because we're flooring installers. And that's not helpful. We need to find a way to get to having that 30,000-foot view and work on our business and put the systems and processes in place. So these conversations are for you so that you can pull out the nuggets and go and implement them into your business. As you do that over the next 6 months, year, 18 months, you will dramatically change your business when you do the work. You can't just listen and say, oh man, I really like that. You got to spend the time to go do the work and put it into effect. You have to build out the system. You have to implement it. You have to hold people accountable. And it sucks and it's hard and it's frustrating. And then you fight through that and everything becomes a beautiful symphony. So that being said, that's what we're doing here. But Mark, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? And then we'll have Gavin introduce himself and give us a little background on him.
All right, I'm Mark Herakovic, installation training manager at MDG Flooring America in Medina, Ohio, just south of Cleveland. Been doing this almost 30 years now and just love what I do.
That was short and sweet. I love it. And you've been with them for a couple of years now. 5.
It'll be 4 years in September I've been with them.
Okay. Yeah. You started when the podcast launched. Congratulations.
Yeah. I was number 3, I think, was my first episode.
Pretty early. Okay. And
yeah,
so
let's go to the bottom of the most recently listened
Scroll all the way down. There's 200. There's over 200 of them to get through. 200 came out a little bit ago.
Yeah, I'm the bottom three.
All right, so I love it. Short, sweet. He did sand and finish. He was on bowling alleys, traveling around the country, and then he settled down because he got him a wife and some kids, and now he works out of a store, and it keeps his life real easy. So I'll fill in the blanks there that are missing. But Gavin, you one, you're young, which is surprising because the average age of an installer these days is the average age of a sand and finish guy is 51, which means carpet and tile isn't going to be too far different. So you're young, dude. What are you doing? Why how did you end up even finding MDG Flooring and a position and getting hooked up with this guy?
Okay, so before I worked here, I used to do landscaping. And my uncle, he messaged me asking if I wanted to work in the warehouse. So I started out there. And then from there, I was there in the warehouse for like a year. And I went to do a tile job with another installer. I was like, oh man, this is kind of nice. You get to like make your own hours and work on your own schedule pretty much for the most part. So that's where I kind of wanted to go.
Okay. What was the initial draw besides, you can make your own hours to a point. I agree. What was so exciting about doing tile versus, hanging out in a warehouse where, as a young kid, I can only assume that I don't have to work too hard. Like I drive the forklift around every once in a while.
That kind of stuff got boring though, like after a while. And then you had to do deliveries in the rain. And when you're working at homes, you're always inside.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I like it. And so there was a thrill. Was it that you got to build something? Was it that what was exciting?
It was seeing the finished product when it was all said and done. It all looked amazing.
Awesome. That's what does it for most people, right? You get to build something. You get to change somebody's life. You make Mrs. Jones' dreams come true. And that's what we should be selling, folks. Stop telling everybody when you put out an ad that it's hard and it sucks and it's long hours and it's back-breaking work. Sell the sexy. Look, he admitted it. He said, I got to build something. I changed someone's life. I built her dream. Sell that.
Yeah, and that's the problem, I think, with the industry now is they're touting all this training, but it's for existing installers. What I'm not saying is the attractiveness of the industry to get the younger generation. And that's a struggle that they're always going to have. I don't care how many trainings they put out there and certifications they put out there. If they don't bring out the better parts of the industry, you're not going to get the younger generation.
I agree. There's a lot we need to work on who we're attracting. It's not that the current base of talent out there doesn't need to better their skills. This is an important thing. We need that, but we have to find a way to make it attractive to people that are coming up. We need to get trades back in schools. We need to get in front of them. They need to see it, and they need to know it's an option because you said your uncle called you and asked you if you wanted to work in the warehouse. Is he an installer for them? Is he one of the owners? Who is there?
He was one of the carpet installers.
Okay. So he was another installer. So you at least had some exposure to this industry growing up and you knew it was an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is, look, that's one out of how many kids, folks? Like most people, how many people really see a flooring installation in their life? It's they buy a house that's built, they leave it, somebody else remodels it before they move in. Their kids never see this stuff. They don't even know it exists. But
well, if you talk to homeowners, though, they've all done it before.
Yeah.
And they may have 30 years ago when the rates were different.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're still the same. That's a whole different conversation. So Mark, it's so Gavin went out, he did this tile job. He was interested in the installation side at that point. How did it come about that you were creating the curriculum and he was assigned to you? What kind of happened to get this going?
Okay. So when he went to do that tile job, I was actually in the office when I was operations manager. And I scheduled a tile job. It was like a 3 week long tile job because it was all custom, circular shower, just ridiculous. And the guy scheduled for it works by himself. I'm like, he needs a helper. We got to send someone. And Gavin was our guy that was available.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent him out with that installer to do it, and he liked it. So, so when Gavin went back into the work at the warehouse, how do we put this? 4 years ago, when I started with MDG, I came in as their first in-house guy. But at our Christmas party, I was talking with the owner. I'm like, hey, I got an idea for a training program. And it took 2 or 3 years before they finally came to me and said, all right, write it down. Let's see what we could do. Because when I failed at the operations side, the office side, because I didn't listen enough of your episodes, that they pushed me to actually sit down and think about it, get it written down, exactly how to do it. Because I was like, hey, 1 year apprenticeship program, because most are 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, 1 year, they could go out and do their own small jobs on their own, which actually helps, having someone to fill the schedule to do those small jobs, or just a big open square room or something, that really helps. And we were slammed with work. So I think it took me like 2 days to sit down and be like, okay, I was like, they're going to be hands-on from day one, because I'm almost 50. I hurt every day and things should be getting easier for me. So I started writing it down. I'm like, okay, here's what they need to learn and not necessarily master, but get good enough at it where I don't have to watch them in this time frame. And then I'd have to go through the whole install thinking that way. And I think it ended up being 3 pages long is how I figured that out. And I actually did post it on one of the forums, trying to get everybody's opinions or if I missed something. And I think John Steyer, who's doing those classes with the local schools, actually took it and ran with it, and it's becoming successful with it. But then when I went back into the field, Gavin's actually my second or third trainee. The first 2 didn't make it.
Okay.
But day one, I'm like, okay, we got to tear out. I'd show them what to do. I'd be like, all right, get to it. But I actually took the time and showed them what to do, what I expected, and what needed to be done. And then I'd stand back. I'd watch them for a little bit, and then I'd go start something else, but kept an eye on them. And then when they were done with that, I'm like, okay, here's the next step. Because I kind of developed a system over the years which allowed me to get through a job where I always hit my deadline or we finish a day early. And so it's teaching them that, but also the process to get a job done correctly. So it just kind of, it's changed a little here or there, training wise, but from day one, they're hands on and I'm less hands on. I'm just there at that point to make sure we stay on schedule and we're where we need to be every day at the end of every day. And I just got lucky with Gavin, who, when he shows up on time, which is his only downfall, he works. and he pays attention. He asks us questions. I got lucky with him. And I've told him before, I'm like, right now, you're the greatest thing I've accomplished in my career. He's making me look really good right now.
Awesome. So I want to go backwards a little bit here. So when you're developing this, you were looking at it from the installation perspective, right? What are the steps that I have to go through to make this happen? And I think that's the key here, is that a lot of times we walk in, maybe you hire somebody in the middle of the install, you hire somebody at the beginning, whatever it is, but you they're over here, they're over there, they're over there. And you're just like, nope, we're going to walk through this together. And I'm going to show them how to do it. I'm going to supervise and do minimal help. I'm just here to keep it on track. And I think a lot of guys are like, I don't have time for you. I just need to make money. You cost me too much. And you didn't go in with that attitude. You went in with, I just have to keep this on schedule.
The biggest difference there is I'm an in-house installer. I'm salaried. Mm-hmm. So that does give me a little more leeway, because now I'm not concerned I need to make money. But yet I do need to make that money because the store relies on that schedule. So that way we don't fall behind on other jobs. So when everybody's like, I need to make money, they're not hiring a helper. They're just hiring a gopher guy. If they really do want to train, you got to take the time, explain the process, explain the steps, and explain why it's important it's done this way. Because the biggest thing I told Gavin, I'm like, do you want to go back and repair stuff and me bill you for it? No, nobody wants that. So as long as you teach them right the first time and make sure they fully grasp it before they move on to the next thing, you're going to be golden. You do got to give a little bit of leeway, though, with, the work ethic type of thing with a younger generation, because everybody says it's handed to them. I think they're just lazy, but you as a trainer need to instill that in them, and they'll see that reward at the end of the job, but you can't also be a hard ass all the time either. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you just fucked that up, but as a seasoned installer, you should be able to know how to fix pretty much 99.9% of anything that goes wrong. Well, but you got to be willing to take that chance, to let them make their mistakes, because who hasn't made mistakes on their way through their career, Correct. I've made plenty. I'm self-taught, so I've made plenty. And those are ask me how I know moments. So it can cost you money, but if you train them correctly and take the time to explain it to them and actually show them what you want and what to expect, then it should be an easier transition. And you shouldn't have those, this is going to cost me money.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to be paying attention too, right? You got to go and check on them. I think another thing is you're talking about,
you got to keep an eye on them.
You're talking about making sure they know how to do it the first time. But one thing is that we can't take somebody to the same stage of an install all the time. It's always moving forward, right? We got to do the demo, we got to do the prep, we got to do the install, we got to do trim. And so how are you going about, like, I want to make sure they're doing it right for this thing, but then I have to, we got to move on, and now they don't do it again for a week. So how are we instilling consistency?
The way I did it, first thing, demo. Okay, this is how you demo carpet. This is how you demo vinyl and Luan. This is how you demo hardwood. I'd show them, and I'd be standing over them for an hour or for the time it takes them. Mm-hmm. This is how you demo shoe molding, and then, okay, so we got to grind the floor. This is how you grind the floor, and I'll grind the floor for an hour. And then after that, I'd make them grind for the rest of the day, or something, and then any kind of patching we need to do. Okay, this is how we do it. And I'd show them how to mix it correctly. I'd show them how to, spread it out with the float. and show them the nuances of it, which you can only explain so much when you get to nuanced stuff like floating out stuff and everything like that. But that's something they need to pick up as they do it. But you got to be able to adapt to that. So if we need to skim something twice, I'll show them how to do it, let them do the rest of it. And then the second coat, I'd go and do, just to make sure it came out right. But then the next job, it was on them. You mix it, you do the first coat. I'll do the second coat. Or, so it's like, okay, you got a week to get this, or maybe 2 weeks to get this if it was something a little more difficult. Undercutting. I'd show them how to undercut on one door. And then I'd stand there and watch them do the rest of the house. But I'm like, you have 1 week to make sure this is perfect. And you undercut a lot of doors in a week,
Yes.
So they have plenty of time in that week. You just got to put that time frame on it, and if they don't get it in a week, then you give them a couple of days, let them think about it as you're undercut, and watching you do it, and explain what you're doing as you're doing it.
But you have patience.
That's the big thing. Nobody has patience. They're always in a rush, but if you have that system, like I said, I got a system that works that we never go beyond what's scheduled, so where you need to be. Now that is going to slow down. So they usually gave me an extra day, on that job, but that's also the point where you got to be trusting. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like, know how to go into a job. You know exactly what needs to do. Now you need to slow that process down and explain that process to the new guy, and explain why it needs to be done that way. And then, and actually have them do it. But you got to give them that time. You can't just be like, oh, you're too slow, let me get in there. You got to give them that time.
That one. That's it. I don't have time for this move. Stop doing that. Exactly what Mark is talking about. This is what needs to happen. Not everyone's cut out to be a trainer, okay, folks? You may not, just because you start a company and you can do a skill does not mean that you should train. You might have to train the first person and it may be really, really difficult, but maybe they turn out to be a better trainer and they should train the new incoming employees. Mark, education is a special skill. That's why we have people that go and get teaching degrees, and we should treat them way better in schools, and that's a whole different conversation. But essentially, you have to be patient. They're learning. They're little itty bitty babies, and you're going to yell at your kid when he's crying. It's ridiculous.
There's only one time that I got mad at Gavin and the other guy I had. I didn't blow up and I didn't yell at him, but I definitely got very stern, because we ended up having to repaint an entire hallway, because they didn't clean as they go. And I'm sure Gavin might remember, it was a glue down engineered in an upstairs hallway.
Yeah.
And I told them probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 times, clean as you go. And normally we could have cleaned it off, but it happened to be a flat paint that she used. So the store ended up having to repaint an entire hallway. But I didn't yell. I got stern with them, showed them my displeasure.
Yeah.
But I held back from the yelling. Now, when I got home that night, I yelled at my kids to make up for it. But that's where you gotta hold back on yourself as a trainer too, is you can't just blow up, and like you said, they're new, they're little, they're just learning. You can't expect them, you show them once, let them do it without any kind of supervision, they're going to screw up. You cannot lose your cool and just automatically blow up and then fire them. And that right there, at one, as a business, they're going to badmouth you up and down the street to everybody they know. So
There it is.
that's a bad business practice right there. Even though it's just one, it could be 16 to 30-year-olds, but you got to learn to keep your cool. It's like talking to a homeowner is the same way as you're going to talk to your trainee or your apprentice, whatever you want to call them. And that was the big thing when they first started, when Gavin first started. You can't go into a homeowner's house and be like, oh, this is my trainee. That looks really bad. Homeowners start to get apprehensive. So you start calling them apprentices. That that whole culture right there too makes a huge difference. Not only to the homeowner but also to the person you're training. We got to stop with that antiquated mindset of this is how I've been doing it and this is the only way it's going to happen.
Well,
there's things that Gavin has done that I'm like, oh, I'm going to steal that,
Well, let's ask Gavin. Gavin, if Mark and MDG would have brought you in and told you, hey man, you're going to go be a helper and this is what you're going to do, how would that have made you feel versus being told, hey, you're an apprentice, we're going to teach you a trade, and you're going to have a career?
I don't know, because I always thought like being a helper would be cool because then you don't have as much responsibility. But now looking back at it, I'm glad I have the responsibility and the knowledge I do now.
Mm-hmm. But as a helper, like you're saying, like you don't have a lot of responsibility. So immediately the title implies there's you're stuck in a position. There's no advancement opportunities. You're just here to help. Whereas apprentice says you're here to learn and grow and become a master. So does that help sell? Does that help sell it to you? Does that make you more interested in it?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yep. I'd rather hear you're going to be an apprentice or a trainee than a helper.
Okay. So, folks, look, it's not me saying it for once, okay? I know I've been running my mouth for 4 years on this show saying stop calling them helpers. Because if that's what you want, then stop getting mad when they leave, they quit, they get frustrated with you. Because you're not giving them anywhere to go. The language you use is going to matter. Another thing that Mark brought up that's slipping my mind now, what was I going to hit on? It was the
antiquated mindset.
Well, yeah, you have to be willing to invest in somebody and let them grow, right? You had to learn at some point. Somebody took the time for you.
Yeah.
And yet here you are berating them and getting pissed off, and then oh, that was it. You were talking about in front of clients. Like the client doesn't want to see you yelling at your apprentice or your trainee or your helper or whatever. Like, we don't need that in the environment. It reflects very poorly on your company, just as much as it reflects very poorly on your culture and frustrates them. When Mark was saying that, if he would have yelled at Gavin and made a big scene, he might have gone off. Look, he's 21 years old. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to go to all of his friends. He's going to talk about how much of an a-hole Mark at MDG Flooring is and screw that place. I don't like them. They treat people like shit. And now what? How you expect to get any other young people in here?
Exactly.
You're pissing off the generation by pissing off one kid. It's a bad review. A bad review, somebody that's pissed off. I still tell people about my painting company, and I've said it on the show before. It's been a decade, folks. I still hate that painting company. Then again, they were very rude to my wife and talked down to her, but I'm still leaving them bad reviews. Well, yes, but I'm still leaving them bad reviews and telling people not to use them 10 years later.
Yeah, because it's not just one bad review. That bad review could turn into 50 bad reviews,
Correct.
and it could snowball like there's no tomorrow. And it's the same thing. I was actually thinking about it today because we knew we were coming on today. But when we get done with the job, I go over proper maintenance and care and cleaning and everything like that. And I've been having Gavin do it lately so
Okay.
he could get used to it. But now it's like when it comes to cleaning your floors, everybody learns from their mom, who learns from their mom, who learns from their mom, and it goes back generations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, things change. The same goes with the training mentality. You're going to learn, you learn from a guy who was an asshole to you, who learned from a guy who was even worse, because mentality back then was way worse. So you got to change that where you got to be more understanding of their ability. When Gavin first came in, I liked Gavin because I knew him from the warehouse and everything. He hooked me up on deliveries and everything, but he couldn't read a tape measure correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you have to start.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take that time to know what their capabilities are and work with that. You need to adjust your capabilities to work with that. Now, I'm sure the next trainee I get is going to be different. So I'm going to have to change it up a little bit probably, but I'm still going to follow the same curriculum that I originally had written up.
I love it. I'm going to interrupt this for a second, and then we're gonna let Gavin talk around here for a little bit because we've heard enough from Mark. So I want to get his impression of it.
Okay.
If you're looking for waterproofing solutions for your tile installation, look no further than John's Manville Go Board. It's time to say goodbye to worries of moisture damage and hello to durable, easy to install tile backer. Go Board is engineered to withstand tough environments, providing excellent waterproofing protection. Whether it's your bathroom, kitchen, or any other wet area, Go Board has got you covered. Don't compromise on quality. Choose JM Go Board for the ultimate waterproofing peace of mind. Visit their retailers and ask for Go Board. Visit any retailer, folks. They just came out with a new board. I forget the measurements, like 32 by 60 or 32. I don't know. If it's perfect for doing 3x5 tub surrounds. You want to buy it. I don't remember the size. I'm not a tile guy. I'm sorry. Hate me. And I don't have the old copy. I threw it away. But like 32 by something so that it fits perfectly for like side shower walls, and it should only take you like 4 boards or something like that to get it up. It'll speed you up, I promise. Gavin.
Yes.
Is Mark really that nice?
Yeah, I enjoyed working with him.
But was he really that nice, or did he yell some?
No, he never yelled at all, or
Awesome.
he never even really showed his temper at all. He was very I can't think of what it's called now. Oh, patient.
Blink twice if you need help. No.
We're about an hour apart from each other, so.
Okay. What has your experience been like, right? So you asked to go into this. They designed something to accommodate you and make it hopefully easier. What is the experience been like? How do you feel the program is working? Like, lay it on me, man. Give me all your thoughts.
I actually loved it. I think so far the program's been awesome. I've learned a lot, not even just like flooring, but stuff outside of flooring that's helped a lot. Like woodworking, it all ties together pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Has it been...
Yeah, we've done a few, like building shelves at the warehouse or building shelves at the showroom. We've had to do a couple other projects for like our community involvement through our business and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Gavin's helped me on that, and I let him take the lead.
Right on. Do you feel that it's been consistent? Like, is there anything that you would change? And I don't know if you've had these conversations with Mark or not, but I feel this is probably a safe space and he won't get upset with you. Like, do you feel that it went in a logical order, the way he trained you? It felt good. It felt like it made sense, and it was an easy approach to learning flooring?
Yeah, I believe so. I thought it went smooth.
And so, I mean, he started you at the beginning. It was, here's how you demo, here's how you prep, here's how you install, here's how we do trim work, here's how we clean up. And here's how you talk to clients. And so it's been an entire education across the span for, a year and a half now? A little more than a year. 2 years?
It's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
About 2 years.
But I mean, it's been ongoing, and the challenge, like, what were their goals set? Did he like clearly lay out what he expected of you, how he expected it, when he expected it? I need you to learn this skill by the end of the week or the day, an hour. Were like expectations set for you to be able to know when you had to be able to do something?
Yeah, there was. There was a lot of expectations that he had set, and I just wanted to try to meet them as fast and as best as possible.
Mm-hmm. Where is an area that maybe you felt was lacking, or you could have gotten better instruction, or like just a hard process to comprehend?
I think the hardest process was the like specifics. So like, for instance, like subfloor flatness, we learned that right in the beginning too.
Mm-hmm.
And well, at least for me, it was like a little bit overwhelming. So there would be like some topics that he would mention and I would forget about,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would like re-ask, and I would eventually catch on. But it was more or less the specific stuff that was getting overlooked.
Okay, so do you
Not
feel
from Mark, but like
Go ahead.
it wasn't getting like overlooked from Mark, but it was like just going over my head because I was thinking about something else. Or
so would it have been more helpful to just be taught like, hey, we got to install it, like Mark kind of deals with it, and then slowly introduce flatness tolerances and expansion gaps, and like even though you're told to do it, like maybe leave out the reason why? Or did knowing that there was a reason why make you understand it was important to do, but then I'll learn all of the why later on?
Yeah, I believe so.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
you want to leave it out, or you want to know the why?
I wanted to know the why.
Okay. I think that's a huge one right there. Is I know that a lot of just go do this. And I know you guys and gals do that. I know you do. Stop it. They're like little, they're
Actually,
like 3-year-olds.
thinking about that, I could see his point there, and that's on me, where I show him how to do something, and I might have skipped over the why on a couple things. But I think in the first month or so, I threw a ton of information at them.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been a point where we were kind of in a little behind in a time crunch. But yeah, I get it, Gavin.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, but giving him the why most of the time, I think that's so important. I know I was told like, hey, just go do this. And Mark, I'm sure when you were sanding the bowling alleys at first, it was like, just go. This is how we do it. Shut up. Go do it. It wasn't.
Yeah.
There was no why. There was no understanding why you had to do what you did. You were just like, whatever. Okay. Like, I'll do it to the best I can. But when you understand the why behind something, then you know how to do it, why to do it, what you're actually trying to accomplish, and that there's a reason to it, which gives you more of a reason to go and do it instead of just willy-nilly accomplish a task.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
a lot of times, I was brought up that way. I've seen guys get trained that way. I've seen guys try and train guys that way. Just go do this. Or gals.
Yeah,
we got the gals getting trained.
I have changed up things after that first month or so, where I threw a ton of information at them, and I'd quiz them on like the drive to the job, or when we were doing the job or whatever. I'd quiz them on stuff. But I've kind of changed up a couple things on why I refused to tell them, or not really refused, but I didn't tell them because I needed that moment to click of like, there's so much you could talk about and mention and teach them, but there's those points where they just need to do it and have it click,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed that moment to click. And that's what I was looking for. So sometimes leaving some information out, you want to give them the basics of expansion gaps, flatness, everything like that. But there is that moment where you got to stop repeating yourself and have that moment click.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I mean, I know I
Yeah.
struggled with being able to cut, like, just make basic cuts at first, right? Like I'm going into a door jam and you can't draw it square. You got to
Mm-hmm.
draw it with a little curve. And how do I measure it right? And then I got to go and I got to cut it and I put it in and I screwed it up. But it's repetition. And so how many things for you, Gavin, were you had to screw up? And
A lot of angle cuts.
but it was it,
Yeah.
I think, did you have a rule, Mark, or were you given a rule? Like I was given, like, you're not allowed to screw up more than like twice, and then you have to come
No,
and
I let them
grab
screw
me.
up as much as they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm
Okay.
I'm used to I'm very good at using not using waste factor.
Hmm.
I could do a job with like 4 or 5% waste factor. It doesn't matter the size. And I know I have that waste factor to work with. And I'd let them figure it out.
Okay.
I'm like, as you do this, like Gavin struggled with angles big time. And I'm like, as you start doing this, the longer you start doing this, you're going to realize angles. This is going to be a 45. This is going to be a 22. This is going to be a 31.6 or whatever. Whatever the angles, you're going to know it.
Hmm.
And you're especially with Gavin, the way he struggled with angles, I'd show him, I'm like, here's 2 ways you can measure for that angle. One with a tape measure, one without a tape measure. And I'd show him a couple of times and then let him do it. And if he kept screwing up, he kept screwing up.
Hmm.
Because I knew I had that waste factor in there. But once it started taking too long, that's when I would jump in
Okay.
and start doing it. And I still kind of do it a little bit to him, is where I know he's not as fast as I am,
Hmm.
or I wouldn't say fast. I've definitely slowed down a lot, but more efficient. Um, where it's just too easy for me to jump in now. And that's where you also want the feedback from your apprentice, um, is to tell them, hey, I got this. And there's been a few times where I'd be like, hey, can you go do this? If they say no, fine, I'll go do it.
Hmm.
But if they're like, yeah, I could do this, I'll let them do it. And if it's a super intricate cut and I know we're running low on material, or if it's like a transition that's going to be kind of difficult, I'd give them one time because we're always tight on
Hmm.
transitions or whatever. But if they say they could do it, I'm going to let them do it. That
Yeah.
means I don't have to do it.
Well, it's that, but I always like seeing the pride, the confidence, whether it was truly there or not, right? Like, hey, dude, go give it a shot, man. If you believe you can do it, like, go do it. Don't cut your finger off, but that's a
Yeah, and
complicated
that was
cut.
the big thing. That was the big thing with Gavin. Even after he pretty much finished up his 1 year program, he still didn't really show the confidence. But that's Gavin's attitude.
Yeah.
He's pretty laid back.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been seeing him, like, now we just get in and get to it. I don't have to tell him what to do or how to do it or anything like that. Um, but we were doing this major cluster of a job, and we had to repair a board. Almost, it was kind of a pain in the butt repair. I'm like, oh, I'll go do it. And he's like, oh, I already did it. I was like, oh shit, okay, awesome. I went and looked at it and it looked beautiful. I'm
Right on.
like, but he doesn't show it.
Hmm.
So that's what I want to see, is if I'm training someone, I want to see that excitement that, hey, I just did this thing that's like super difficult, or hey, I finally got it and it looks beautiful. It could be the easiest thing ever, but I want to see that excitement that you did it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're proud with that result,
Yeah.
because I think near the end of his 1 year program, I kept asking Gavin would be ask me questions. I'm like, are you happy with it? If he said yes, then I let it go. I'm like, if you're happy with it, fine.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have that mindset as a trainer too, is if they're happy with it, even though it's not something that you would do, but if they're happy with it and they think it looks good, you go with it. Don't give them that doubt. Give them that little win.
Oh, I think that's big. Is it
Yeah.
is it good enough to pass, right? It's not going to be perfect, but nothing can be completely perfect in life. We're just not that
Yeah.
good. And I think that's a great point, Mark, is let them get a win. And as long as it meets standards, guidelines, manufacturer specs, all that stuff, let it go.
Yeah.
Honestly, most of the times homeowners aren't going to notice the difference between 80% and 110%. They're just
Yeah.
not. They don't know any better. You're the perfectionist, you're the tradesperson, you're the one looking at it every day, and you are your own worst critic. Stop it. They're doing great work out there. Let it
Yeah.
be. I think that's a great point. Gavin, do you feel that you were like really supported through having this program with the company and that they were there to build you up, or did you ever feel that it was like a waste of your time or anything like that?
I felt pretty supportive, even by not even just Mark, but like the higher ups, the president. You would always say, "I'm doing a good job."
Mm-hmm.
It was just overall a good experience.
Okay, so everyone was kind of invested in you
Yeah.
and your success. It wasn't just like you were handed off to Mark and off you
Yep.
go, and we hope this works. Okay, so I mean,
And last month, beginning of June, Gavin went and took the CFI certification and got certified in hardwood laminate and LVP,
oh dang, he doesn't even
and
have 2 years
passed with.
experience. We won't tell anybody.
That's all that's required is minimum 2 years.
I know, but he's not there yet, is he? Close enough.
He's close enough. We lied about it. I think it was like a year and 8, 10 months or something like
Yeah,
that.
I like you could do it with less than two, but I know what I get
But
their point.
and that's the thing though. At with Gavin, after 1 year, I would have been comfortable sending him to that
Mm-hmm.
certification, and he would have done. But his score on the test was lower than I thought it was going to be. But that's mainly because he just rushed through it and didn't read the questions correctly.
Yeah.
Um, but I think after 1 year, I think he still could have passed it with
Mm-hmm.
high enough. Like I think 70 is the minimum on the written. I still think he could have gotten well over that.
I didn't find the written that hard. I think
Oh, I
I'm a
blew through
dork.
it in 5 minutes.
I like the technical side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could get somebody through that in a year. I don't disagree. It needs to be the right person though. They have to want it. They want to have to grow. They want to pay attention. They're going to want to learn. I don't buy this thing. I see a lot of tile trades people talk about, oh, you need like 4 years experience before you can do anything. I'm like, no, that's good.
That's not true.
But if you find the right person that's hungry and wants to do it, you can have somebody doing backsplashes easy within 6 months to a year probably, and showers within a year or two. Like it doesn't have to be 4 years. Would you want
Yeah.
them still somewhat supervised to like make sure? Yes, I'm not saying just train them up in a year and throw them out on their own to the wolves, but there's got to be, you got to let people learn a skill and trust them to go do it. That's why you're hiring them. That's why you're training them. That's why you're investing in them. Invest, folks. This is how you are going to change your business and you can step back and look at more things. You have to make that investment.
And at least with Gavin, like I said, I can't say enough about how good of a worker he is, but there's been repairs that I've had to go do. He still goes to a job we're on, and I have no doubt that it's still going to be up to my standards. You know, when you train someone, you're going to train them to your standards, but you got to be patient with it. And I know I could send Gavin out to do something, and he's still going to do it to a good standard that I'm good with. There's been a couple repairs where he knows he messed up on something. We'd have to go back and repair it. I'd ask Gavin, I'm like, do you want me to go with you and show you how to do this? He's like, no, I'll go do it. Goes and does it, comes back flawless. Homeowner super stoked and calls and says, hey, these guys did a great job. You know, and that's what you're training for. You know, you're training a guy to help the industry, but it's also a reflection on you as an installer also, because you're the one training them. If that apprentice fails, that's more of a reflection on you.
I agree. Gavin, was a sense of pride instilled in you, or do you think you came to the table with it, like over the work, or what did Mark explain this career path in such a sexy way that you're like, oh man, like I dig this, I buy into it now?
So actually at first I didn't know if I would like it or not. And then over the course of, like, I would say the past year, that's when I really found my interest in it. And what, just seeing how everything turns out.
What was it that did that for you? Like, what made you start, like, really getting into it?
I'm not really too sure on that.
Oh man.
I think honestly, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
You gotta look. I got all the time in the world, man. I need the. I want to hear this answer, and I know I'm throwing you on the spot. And there's like we didn't prepare this, and you don't know what I'm going to throw at you.
I want to hear this response too.
I think hearing this might be helpful to others, and that's why I want to know is essentially what I want to know. Right? Is how do we go about getting someone excited, right? I don't think everyone that falls into this industry to be an apprentice is going to naturally be excited. So what were little things that Mark did or MDG did that made you say like, oh man, I really dig like being part of flooring, and this is fun and exciting, and I like coming to work? Like, what is some of the stuff that just started coming, like building up and coming together where you were like, hey, this is cool. I dig this.
Before you answer that, I can tell you, I can't remember the name of the job, but I can tell you exactly when I saw that point. So go ahead and answer, but I'll tell you after you answer what it was.
I don't know. It just like, I just felt like it just clicked.
It was just the time had gone by and everything. Okay, so everything just started clicking, and you were like, okay, I understand.
Yeah, it was mainly the process. Like, all right, so at first, obviously, you don't know anything, but once you start to figure everything out, and you see how the process is actually laid out, and you start doing it yourself, that's when you really get to see the now I can't think of it.
The final outcome.
Yeah, like that.
Getting to the finished product. Yeah, it's always
exactly.
What about what? So one of the things that always helped me, and maybe this rings true for you too, is I feel like doing flooring is a constant dopamine hit, which is really good, right? I go into somebody's home and Mrs. Jones is there, and I start ripping out her nasty carpet or old tile or whatever, and she says, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I can't, like, that stuff was so ugly. I hated it." And you're like, "Yeah, cool, thanks. Like, I got to destroy your house. Thanks for thanking me, right?"
Yeah.
And then you're like cleaning
Okay.
up the subfloor, and she's like, "Oh, it's cool. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how clean that gets." And then you lay the floor, and she thanks you again. And then you put the baseboards back on. She's like, "I can't believe how good it looks." Right? Like every step of the way is this constant, like, there's instant gratification all along the way.
Yep.
Did that help keep you engaged, or does?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like it has.
Okay. Go ahead,
Okay,
Mark.
so that's the point. I can't remember which job it was. It was probably 4 or 5 months ago. When I constantly had Gavin start doing the aftercare, going over cleaning, maintenance, sign off, collecting payments, stuff like that. But I noticed it throughout the entire job where Gavin's hard to read because he's super quiet, doesn't really show emotion or anything. But I noticed the little things on that job. But when he was going over it, the homeowner kept just staring at the floor, loving it. She was super excited. And that's when I noticed it. And Gavin, he kind of just had a smile and kept saying thank you, being polite and everything. But that's the moment I knew that it finally clicked to him. This is why we do what we do.
Yeah, I agree.
It's an amazing thing to be able to go transform somebody's place.
It is.
Excuse me.
So because we've been in some nasties, and just seeing that transformation is.
Oh yeah, day and night.
Was there like high fives, pats on the back along the way, any kind of like bonuses? Would Mark take you for ice cream after a job or anything? Like, I don't know, man. Like what? But like, was there little things, right? Like, was there little things that he did that helped keep you engaged and excited instead of like if you had a frustrating day? Was there a way that he was able to like bring you back and get you back on track or anything?
Yeah, like when I start to get frustrated, he'll be like, "Yeah, just go take like a 5-minute break or something. Just take as many breaks as you need," and that was helping a lot. And like at the end of the day, after like the end of a long day or something, he would always like tell you you're doing a great job and everything.
So a little appreciation will go a very long way.
Yep.
Okay. Did he at least
Gavin
buy?
likes it because when I get irritated, I buy him tools.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's also what he helps out with.
That's your
He
ice
gives me
cream.
his old broken tools and I fix them up.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I did the same thing. I had a bunch of stuff laying around. I needed to get it out of my place, and I called my apprentice up. I was like, "Hey, man, come over." He's like, "Why?" I was like, "I got a bunch of stuff for you. Just come over. Here, take this. Have a vacuum. Have this. Get this stuff out of here." He's like, "Okay, cool." So it's the little things that'll go a long way. Did he at least buy you some? Did he buy you some beer or something for your 21st birthday?
He did not.
Oh,
we actually had work. It was a Wednesday on my birthday, and it was a pretty big job.
Way to go, Mark. Way to treat him nice.
Didn't we have beers at the warehouse after that?
No, we did it a few weeks later, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, my goodness. All right, you're fired, Mark.
He never wants to sit there and drink with us, so.
He's a smart kid. He's got better things to do. He's not going to fall into that trap.
He goes home and sleeps.
Gavin, is there anything that you think would help improve the program or the experience you had to have made this easier, or that you would have been able to pick something up quicker along the way, or that somebody else going through this could really benefit from?
I think mainly just going out and doing it. Like once you do it one time yourself, it goes a long way. Because when Mark would show us layout, I would be clueless. And then once I started actually doing it, it was like, oh, now I see what he's talking about with the laser and everything, and it just all clicked.
Okay. So just being able to get that hands-on time by yourself after it's explained, and being allowed to, even if you screw it up, knowing that it's okay because I have to make mistakes to move forward.
Exactly.
Look, folks,
Yeah,
this
and
is
that's where
coming
you got to be.
from the babe's mouth.
Yeah, and when, especially with layout, because they have, if you read the instructions of every material and everything, they have specifications for stuff, and there's reasons for that, but you got to be trusting in them and willing to take that chance that if their layout is wrong and you don't meet those specifications, you're putting a lot at risk, whether it's, doing a lot of repairs or doing, whether it's a replacement or what, you got to be willing to take that chance. But if you train them correctly, it shouldn't be as stressful as you think it should be.
I agree. Let them. I was given a lot of free reign. It was fun. The first guy that I worked for would show me how to do something and send me off of the room and tell me to do it. So I stayed out of his way, and he was able to get more done. But I was doing a task. And the second company that I worked for, I still remember it. It was so funny. My buddy John, who was training me, he told me, I had 6 months experience in the field, and he was like, "Nope, you're with this company. You're an installer." I was like, "No, man, I'm an apprentice." He's like, "Right now, I tell you, you're an installer. So get down here and start working." And I was like, okay. And so like I was given the title and told to get to work and do it. And that I didn't agree with it per se, but it was nice to know, like, hey, get in here. You're here to do this. Get to it. And it, like, if you make a mistake, I'm going to fix it. And so knowing it was okay to screw up is a big thing. And I don't know that a lot of companies give that leeway to their trainees.
Yeah, and you got to be willing as a trainer, with experience. Like I said, I'm almost 30 years in. I can fix a lot of things, a lot of things I don't want to fix, but, things I can fix.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be willing to be open-minded also to a point. Well, shit, they just did that. It's within industry specifications. It looks good. I'm going to steal that and claim it as my own. You got to be willing to look at other ways of doing things. As long as it falls within your industry specifications, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
It could be quicker. As long as it doesn't take longer, who cares? As long as it's done right, who cares how he did it? But if he screwed it up, I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to show him how to fix it, because the next time he's going to fix it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Because that was a big thing too. Like after the first couple of months, I started telling our schedule guy, "Give me repairs," because these guys are going to start learning how to do repairs. And now they're going to learn everything that I'm teaching them, why it failed and how to fix it. And if you're not teaching them how to fix things from what they've learned, then what are you as a trainer?
Yeah, that's a good point. If you can't fix it, then you don't understand how to not screw it up.
Yeah.
Great point. Mark, are you willing to share your program? Can you do that?
I did when I lost those papers when I moved a couple of years ago. But I did have it on the forum on Foreign Stars of America.
Okay.
Before it started, I did have pictures of it. But like I said, I'd go through the whole process, and it'd be like, all right, day one, learn how to talk to the homeowner, knock on the door, introduce yourself. Take a look at the job. Make sure your material's right. Make sure you have enough transitions. Make sure your shoe molding's correct measurements. Okay, here's how we're going to demo carpet. How's how demo hardwood, demo glue down engineered, staple down engineered, vinyl luan, undercut, grind, skim coat, float out, high spots, low spots, how to iron our shoe, how to iron our base, just go through your whole process and be like, okay, we know we need to iron our shoe every job pretty much. So you're going to show them day one, let them get to it. They're going to break some pieces. It's going to happen. You either glue them back together and put it back on and caulk it, or you replace it. Luckily, with MDG, they're really good about, taking that hit with new trainees. So that's a big thing too. So you gotta be in that right mindset and the right environment to accept that you're gonna have some damages, you're gonna have some repairs. Cost up front for the first few months might be a little bit higher, which means your profit might be a little bit lower, but you got to be willing to take that chance to train someone correctly.
Again, it's an investment. Again, you got to make an upfront investment to get rewarded on the back end. That's how it works, folks.
Yes. And, you just got to go through your process. And like I said, I did a 1-year apprentice program is what I designed it for. And so I had to undercutting. With multi-tools nowadays, undercutting should take no more than maybe 2 or 3 jobs to get good at. They're either going to be just a smidge too high or a smidge too tight. Fine adjustments. You're undercutting a minimum 6 doorways in a job, so you have plenty of room in 3 jobs to fine tune that. So you just got to realize on your system through a job to know where they need to be at certain points, with patching, that I knew was going to take a little bit longer because there's a lot of nuances to it. Whether you could hold the trowel flat, you're going to, hold it at an angle. You could taper the one end and hold it tight on the other end. That's stuff that's going to take time. 30 years, I'm still learning stuff on that.
For sure.
So you need to know as a trainer, you need to know what your strong points and weak points are to be able to train them to be better than you. You want to see them succeed better than you are, so that way in the long run, 1, it makes your life easier, but 2, it's going to be more profitable in the long run.
Totally.
Because our program was set up for 1 year to be able to go out and do basic small jobs, large square rooms or whatever on your own. But after that year, either we're going to bring you on in-house or you could become a sub.
Okay. I think the biggest thing here, and this is really the key takeaway, is I will go look for those if they're still on FIA and try and get them up and put in a link with the show notes, folks.
Yeah, that would probably be 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I will look for them. But essentially, look, you should have a documented process for how you handle installs anyways, because you should be doing things semi-consistently. That way, if for some reason something ever happens to you, you can tell another crew, go in, I need it done like this, in this order, this is how we do it. And that way you're consistent every time. And now you can break that down a whole heck of a lot easier in order to do exactly what Mark's talking about. We're going to go up to the door. We're going to knock. We're going to, talk to the client. We're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to put a basic set of tools in. We're going to check supply. Go through your day every day and come up with a list of how you do the install and build an actual training program.
Yeah, because actually what helped too was even during the COVID and everything, we were growing. Like MDG was growing ridiculously fast. And we ended up hiring a HR firm. So we had to write everything down. So what I originally had written down, I turned that in, and they're like, well, this needs to be broken down more. Mm-hmm. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I thought I was broken down even more, or broken down as far as I could go, but once you sit there and write it down, look over it and break it down again. Mm-hmm. And then once you do that, look over it. If you could break it down again, break it down again. Because with an HR department, obviously they're there to cover the business's butt for any kind of instance that can happen. So now you need a process, especially if you're going to hire people. So when we set up our apprenticeship program, we had to break it down very, very specifically to the point of everything we ever take for granted, because we're used to just going in and doing it because we've been doing it forever. Now you got to break it down to a point where you're teaching a newborn baby.
Yep.
You have to explain and document absolutely everything. And technically then I had to take that and break it down to a progress report of, okay, they need to know this stuff by this date. They need to, say after 1 week, after 1 day, after 1 month, after 2 months, after 3 months. You have to break everything down to that point, even though that's just to make sure HR is happy and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But you also could be like, oh, they're behind. So, okay, they need improvement on that. So you work on that on the next job. They're ahead of schedule. So great,
Well, you're talking about, so essentially, I mean, you kind of have a job description at this point because you built a training program, but go back a couple episodes, folks. I did an interview and we talked about key performance indicators, KPIs. That's what Mark's talking about. Is there's a chart. I need them to know this within a week, this within a month, this within 3 months, this within 6 months. And now I can hold them up responsible. And he has a sheet of paper that he can go hand to Gavin and say, this is what you agreed to upon hiring. You must know these things by these dates. And if you do not, then we will have problems. We will have to do write-ups. We will have to do additional training. We will have to talk about, are you a good fit here? So Gavin, did you have a sheet did you get that? Did you actually have a thing that said I need you to know these things?
After the reviews, we would get some, yeah.
Okay. But did you knew what you were trying to, you knew you were being told hey, do this, and I need to kind of know it by this time.
Yep.
You had skills being told. Okay.
With that, the progress reports that I had to turn into the office. But at the end of every day, I would actually, before we got in our vehicles and left or whatever, mm-hmm. I'd be like, hey, good job today. Here's what, I'm like, you guys did a great job with this, but you need to improve on this. Mm-hmm. To me, paperwork is mundane. I hate doing paperwork. That's for the office people who like to sit in front of computers. To me, I'm more of a person-to-person, talk to them. Mm-hmm. But every day, at the end of every day, Gavin and I, before we get in our vehicles, good job today. You guys did great. Oh, you need to work on this. Gavin will tell me I screwed up something and he fixed it or whatever, So it goes both
Okay.
ways.
Yeah.
You got to take that constructive criticism from your apprentice also. It's like, hey, why did you do this? That doesn't seem right from what you told me. But then
Mm,
that's a training opportunity also of your install's the same on every job, but there's certain circumstances that changes it.
yeah.
So that's a great training opportunity there also. But I'll take the constructive criticism. There's days where I'm not feeling it and I'm screwing up, but Gavin's rocking it, and I'll let him rock it and I'll sit back and be like, I'm not just sitting here, but you're fucking killing it, so let him do it.
That's yeah. No, that's good teamwork.
Make it easier on my old body.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go. Let's see here. Where we at? I want to say, so is there anything we didn't hit on, Mark, that we should have hit on? Is there
Gavin
anything
didn't talk enough.
he's reserved. He's reserved,
I
but
just
what he
love-
said was very important. Gavin, is there anything
This
that
is the way it is at work all day long, every day.
that's okay,
No, it's
man.
not. It is not.
Gavin, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't about the program? Anything you want to say? Anything that somebody you think should know that's looking to hire an apprentice and you think would help make their life easier?
I don't really think so.
Okay.
I think
What are some questions as you're going in to get hired for a job? What are questions that you would think the company should be asking?
I think mainly like the biggest thing is what their goal is, because if they're just looking for like a job, then it's not going to suit. But if they're more or less looking for like a full-time career, something they could keep on to forever, I think that's a big one.
That's a good one.
That's huge. You definitely want to hire people that have a growth mindset, folks. If they got a scarcity mindset, you don't want them. Gavin is 100% correct. These kids, you want to hire them, and they need to have goals. And even if the goal is that they want to go be a NASA scientist, if they want to spend some time with you as a flooring installer, help them out and make them a better person while they're with you.
Mm-hmm.
What are their expectations?
There you go. I think that's great. I'm going to leave it there, I think, unless Gavin has anything.
No, I think that's it.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there, folks. I think that's going to do it for us this week. I hope you found this helpful, insightful. It gives you an idea of what you need to do to kind of build a training program, bring somebody in, make them successful, keep them on board, engaged, and moving forward successfully, because we all know we need more young folks in this industry. It's just not going to happen and continue if we don't bring in new blood. And I guarantee you that if there's not people to install product, the manufacturers will not be going out of business. They will find a way to develop a product that does not require skilled labor, and anyone can do it, and the homeowners are going to do it themselves, or they're just going to pay anybody that's unskilled to go in and put some product down, and everyone's going to be happy and content with it. So if you want to keep your skilled trade alive, it's up to you to go find that next generation and teach them and instill the correct values in them. You got to go do the work, and you're going to have to deal with slowing down a little bit and having some patience, and you can't throw trowels, and you can't swear, and you can't be a dick. You're going to have to actually invest in someone. Go find someone who you can enjoy being around, who's excited, who wants to do it. And it might take you 100. It might take you 100 people. But if you can get one, it's going to make a huge difference. So that's me. I'll get off my soapbox. What do we got here? We've got, hey, listeners. It's nearing show season again, and I want to remind you that the International Surface Event is returning to Las Vegas January 24th through 26th in Las Vegas. You're going to have to mark your calendar now, and you're going to have to go book your ticket, and you need to book your flight. Otherwise, you're not going to go. You're going to talk about going. You're going to say, I want to go, and then you're going to cancel last minute because you didn't obligate yourself to go. Go spend the money, put it on your calendar, buy the ticket, and commit and be done with it. It's okay. You can miss a week of work because, one, you're not going to have to pay for your exhibition pass. You're going to use, when registration opens in September, you're going to put code Kyle, Kyle. Look, it's my name. You can't forget it, folks. Kyle. Put that in. You get your free exhibition pass. And why do you want to go to TICE? Because although you're going to be able to learn about new industry leading products and all of this other stuff, it's about the networking. You're going to go meet somebody and you're going to learn something, or you're going to meet a couple of people and you're going to learn a bunch of things. You're going to implement that stuff into your business, and you are more than going to, like, you will 10x your investment if you do it right. If you can't find a way to like 10x your investment in TICE every year, then you're doing TICE wrong. Okay. That's what I'm going to tell you. So, it doesn't matter if you're an installer, retailer, distributor, or serve in another capacity within the industry. Attending TICE is a solid resource to expand your knowledge and networking base. And as I said, you can learn about new industry-leading products coming to market. You can stay up to date with the International Surface Event page on Facebook or online at intlsurfaceevent.com. I love it. Come see me. I'll be giving a talk or two. They're not officially booked. It'll happen, though. It's in the works. So you can come see me. We'll hang out. We'll talk. I'll even introduce you to some of the best people in the industry that I know. And then you can decide if what I'm saying is true. But I would say that I'm building a very strong network, and I love the people I get to chat with. And so if you don't want to have a hard time and you want to get pointed in the right direction, I am happy to help you do that. What can we do? Go to flooracademypod.com. Go subscribe on your favorite listening platform so that you can continue to get this every week in your ear holes. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That goes a long way in helping me punch above my weight. More people see the show. And if this is helping you, I know you want it to help other people so this industry becomes better. You're also my marketing team. I don't have a marketing budget, so I need you to help me help you. So the bigger the show gets, the easier it is for me to keep doing this. And that helps you because you keep getting this wonderful content. If you want to help support the show, patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping me do what I do. Again, if you can't find a way to pull something out of this show and make $60 a year, you're doing this show wrong. So if you give me $5 a month and you can't turn that into like $50 a month or more, then I got nothing for you folks. I don't know how to help you. You got to go do the work. You got to apply the nuggets. $5 a month. Patreon.com/Floor Academy. Otherwise, on the website, you can, pick up a shirt, pick up a hoodie, pick up a beanie. Again, it's summertime, so if you want them flip-flops, like I can get you custom Floor Academy flip-flops. Those would be super hot. With show season coming up, you need the fanny pack. That's already on there. So go get a fanny pack so you can put all your swag in it at TICE. And, man, I think that does it, folks. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Gavin, for coming on and sharing your experiences with us. Mark, thanks for sharing about your training program. And I will look for that. I will look for the write-up, folks. I will put a link in the show notes if I get it. And we will catch you next week.